Many women don't realize that they can increase their chances of getting pregnant by simply monitoring their fertility health and watching for ovulation signs. In this episode, I want to discuss with you the signs that indicate that your body is prepared for conception. There's just a few things that you need to look out for in order to increase your chances of pregnancy this month. Let's talk about it. Women's bodies are naturally designed for pregnancy each month. Let me say that again. Our bodies are naturally designed for pregnancy each month. That is God's natural design. Back, since Eve bit of the fruit and cursed us with hard labor, our bodies have been naturally designed to conceive each cycle. And so, this is it's the purpose, right, of a woman's continuous cycle. If, right, not interrupted by different things, if not interrupted by hormonal birth control, if not interrupted by the processes, that happen when we eat certain foods, right? Our bodies have a hormonal cyclic, like cycle that they take on during our entire cycle. And no, I'm not talking about the first few days of your cycle, which is your menstrual period, right? We're talking about the entire cycle. In a cycle, I think I've mentioned this in a previous podcast before. So if this is your first time listening, your cycle being the first day of your menstrual period to the next day, or to the next first day of your menstrual period. Let me say that again. From a cycle is your menstrual period, day one of your menstrual period, to day one of your next menstrual period. So many women will have this be more than 30 days usually, and the if it's more than 35 days, that's a longer cycle. If it's less than 24, that's more on the shorter side. But before I got pregnant with my rainbow baby, I had a 28-day cycle. It was always 28 days. Like, it never wavered, unless I was on birth control. And I was on birth control prior for a very long time. I used to have long periods. I used to have menstrual cycles, like 2-week menstrual cycles. And so I was put on birth control at a very young age, around 16, 15, actually. Prior to that, I actually started my period when I was 11, and then I was put on birth control. I can't even remember when I was put on birth control. Just, I had these long cycles, 2-week cycles, very heavy, and so I was put on birth control to try and regulate that. But I say all that to say that when our continuous cycle from day one of our menstrual period to day one of our next menstrual period, when that's not interrupted by different types of hormone disruptors, right, our bodies are naturally designed to get pregnant. Okay, so each month your body should, emphasis on should, exhibit signs that your body is ready for pregnancy. And these are simply your fertility signs, right? Your fertility signs. So what are some signs that your body is ready for pregnancy? Some of those fertility signs and signs that you're currently ovulating include changes in your cervical mucus, right? We've talked about that. Changes in your cervical mucus happen when you have dry cervical mucus throughout your cycle, right? When you are not in a stage of being in your fertile window, your cervical mucus will be dry. And in that dry stage, the sperm won't be able to get in, won't be able to help you conceive, right? But during the dry stage, you're usually in the 2-week wait or in your menstrual cycle. After dry, your cervical mucus will become crumbly, sometimes sticky, and then it moves on to like a lotiony, milky stage, like a creamy stage, and then it goes to the final stage, the peak fertile cervical mucus, which is called egg white cervical mucus, which simply looks like egg whites. So we left off talking about cervical mucus and the changes in your cervical mucus and the consistency needed, right? That lotiony, milky, creamy, fertility, cervical mucus, fertile cervical mucus, as well as the consistency of egg white cervical mucus. There, is this huge myth out there that you absolutely need egg white cervical mucus in order to conceive, and that's not true, right? When we see cervical mucus is fertile, while egg white cervical mucus is the most fertile, right? Other cervical mucus can also be beneficial for the sperm and get the sperm to the destination as well. So if you have that creamy, lotiony cervical mucus and you don't have, the egg white cervical mucus, you could still get pregnant. So as far as other fertility signs, signs that you're currently ovulating, signs that your body's, ready for pregnancy, is that ovulation is confirmed by a sustained basal body temperature increase. Okay. So when you ovulate, your body changes temperature. How neat is our body that it shows us signs of what it's doing? And when your ovulation happens, once it's confirmed, you can confirm it with your BBTs. So if you're tracking your basal body temperature each morning, you're waking up, taking your temperature, and doing, what you need to do for that, you can actually confirm your ovulation. And this could be, it could be helpful for women with PCOS. So if you have PCOS, you may have different types of consistency throughout your cycle. If you have longer cycles, different types of cervical mucus consistency. You may have egg white more than once in your in your cycle. And so confirming with BBT can be really beneficial for women who have PCOS. And so when you do that, when you confirm with a sustained BBT increase, you want to look for at least 3 temperatures higher than the cover line. And usually women who are tracking their cycles are doing so with a fertility app. And so when you are putting in your temperatures for that fertility app, your fertility app will often give you a line that shows prior to ovulation, your temperatures being lower, and then after ovulation, your temperatures being higher. And so what you want to see is a constant increase in temperatures, at least 3 of those temperatures above the cover line, showing that you have indeed confirmed ovulation for that period. And so ovulation confirmed by by BBT is also a sign that you're currently ovulating, and a fertility sign for your body to show that your body is ready for pregnancy, right? It's just looking for that optimal time to conceive. And so the next thing is fertile cervical position. And so your cervical position can also be a sign that you can look into for fertility signs. And so when we look at our cervical position for your fertility signs, it changes during your cycle. And this is for the woman who wants to get up and personal with her cycle, with herself, because it does take a little work to really figure out what your cervical position is doing. And so when you are ovulating or on ovulation, your cervix will be it'll be high, it'll be soft and open. And a good way to remember that is SHOW, SHOW, which stands for soft, high, open, and wet. And wet just is the consistency of your cervical mucus. And so if you are currently around ovulation, once again, your cervix will be really high. You may not even be able to touch it. It'll be so high. It'll be soft, and the opening will be open. If you are outside of your fertile window, your cervix, usually you can touch it. It's usually firm or hard, low and closed. So the opening will be closed. Now I will say for women who have given birth before, that opening will always feel a little open, right? Because that's where the baby came out of. And so if you've given vaginal birth.
I'll add that in. But cervical position is another fertility sign that you can look out for during your cycle. And this last one is just really neat in regards to how God has just designed us. And that is just an increased sexual drive, right? An increased drive during your fertile window is another sign that you can take into account for fertility signs that your body is just revving up to, prepare, right, and exude those hormones for your husband in order to get pregnant. So, ovulation signs are just a great way to confirm that your body is indeed ready for pregnancy, but they are not the only signs, right? Your basal body temperature, is your lowest temperature in a 24-hour period and is measured first thing in the morning after at least 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And so if you've been charting your basal body temperature and you see a sustained increase, right, and a sustained increase in your temperature for 3 days or more, this is a sign you've ovulated, right? We just talked about that. Another common sign that your body is ready for pregnancy is that you're that increase in sexual drive, right? So this is that increase in the sexual drive is caused by just a surge of hormones, right? That occurs during ovulation, that increase in LH, the increase in estrogen, everything is increasing during your fertile window. And so when everything is increasing, everything is also just like you'll have an increase of energy. You'll just want to do, this is the time, if you have anything on your do it later list, if you have anything on your projects that you need to get done, the fertile window is the time to do it because you just have all of the extra energy to do so. And so, this is just your body's way of telling you, hey, it's time to put the energy into conceiving. And, like I said, cervical mucus is just it's an important fertility sign, if not the most important fertility sign. And, your cervical mucus, the changes that goes on is just in response to the hormones, the estrogen and progesterone, that occur during your, monthly cycle. So, like I said, I want to really nail this in. Fertility signs. Just before ovulation, you will notice an increase in cervical mucus, right? This mucus is typically clear, slippery, and feels a lot like egg whites. Just to reiterate, right? So sometimes it's called egg white cervical mucus because it resembles the consistency of raw egg whites. And this type of cervical mucus is ideal for sperm transport and provides the perfect environment for the sperm to survive and swim through the egg. So although you may have cervical mucus, if you don't have the optimal cervical mucus, if you have what we call a hostile cervical environment, even if you have cervical mucus, it may not be beneficial for the sperm to survive in. So we want to make sure that we are, constantly feeding ourselves and fueling ourselves with nutritious foods, right? Not foods that cause inflammation in our bodies, to help our cervical mucus give it that extra boost of care for our husband's sperms that are traveling, right, to their destination. So if you notice a increase in your cervical mucus, it's just a sign that your body is getting ramped up for a potential pregnancy, right? And that it is go time. In addition to monitoring your fertility signs, there are just some important things you can do to improve your fertility health overall. So like I said, one of the most important things you can do is eat a healthy, nutritious, whole foods based diet. Incorporate 30 minutes 30 minutes of moderate exercise into your routine, especially during the ovulation window. When I said you have that extra energy, why not put it in towards a HIIT workout, a high intensity workout? Eating a healthy diet and exercising regularly will help to regulate your hormones, right? It's not just to lose weight. When I talk with women who want to lose weight to get pregnant, I really want, and often have to tell them it's not just for the weight part, right? It's for the balancing of your hormones. When women are obese, estrogen, right, is in an imbalance usually. That is usually the case. When there is extra fat, there's also an imbalance of estrogen. And so when we regulate, when we exercise regularly, when we eat a healthy diet, when we regulate and maintain our weight, we're also regulating and maintaining our hormones. And this can just improve your overall health, which will in turn improve your fertility. So if you are currently overweight, losing weight can increase your chances of getting pregnant, but it's not that weight part. It's just by decreasing that estrogen storage. Okay. So how can you monitor your fertility health? If you're trying to get pregnant, it's important that your fertility health is monitored in a way, not necessarily what you think, like going to the doctor and monitoring. There's just a few things you can do at home, right, to make sure everything is on track. So you can use ovulation predictor kits, right, to test for the presence of the LH in your urine, the luteinizing hormone, that ovulation hormone. LH is responsible for triggering ovulation once your estrogen hits a peak, and it releases that mature egg from the ovary, right? And so if you have a positive LH test, this can indicate that you will ovulate within the next 24 to 48 hours. Another way to monitor your fertility health is to chart your BBTs, chart those basal body temperatures. Those can confirm ovulation, as we discussed, but also can determine any hormonal issues that you may be having as well. So if you have, your charts can tell a lot, right? When I talk with my clients inside of the fertility mindset mentorship, and they tell me about their cycles, right? When they discuss with me what they're experiencing, I always ask to see their charts, right? Because what you say verbally is okay, but when I look at the data, when I look at the data on your chart, it tells me a lot more on top of what you're already telling me as well. And so some tips for improving your fertility health, like we said, let's wrap this up. Eat a whole foods diet, right? Eat a whole foods diet. What are whole foods? Fresh fruits, vegetables, getting in those veggie proteins, as well as those anti-inflammatory foods, omega 3s, and the like. Monitor your BBT for any changes. Include moderate exercise into your routine. Always want to get proper sleep, right? 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. That will help you increase your chances of pregnancy as you look at your fertility signs, right? So you can increase your chances just by learning your own fertility signs and what your body is currently showing you as readiness for pregnancy. So continue to chart your cycle, optimize your fertile window. I'm praying for you, sis. And I just hope that this episode was beneficial, was educational for you in this journey. And I will talk to you later. Adios. Oh my goodness, sis. I pray that today's episode was helpful. I pray that it was helpful for you. If it was, please leave a review to help this podcast reach other TTC women of faith, and tag me at coach.avi on Instagram so I can shout you out. I can't wait to help you balance your hormones and deepen your faith so that you can get pregnant without the overwhelm. Blessings and baby dust.